Hi, there are many confusions about using the HTTP client and HTTP client and how to use it. Even though there are so many articles, even it is actually kind of off of the information they're sharing. Because of that, even in MSDN information, it gets confused, and everybody while using they're making a lot of issues. Okay, so I'm using it with respect to Blazor, but the same thing is in ASP.NET Core or anywhere, any other projects. Okay, wherever you're using what do you call client, from the client place you need to have a what is that HTTP client. From HTTP client you will be calling I mean client you need to connect with, to connect or fetch anything from API. Okay, so for that case, for the client you need to have a base address. Without that also you can play, no issue. But while configuring the add HTTP client, we will configure at one place the way we are using like this. Build.service.azure HTTP client is, whenever you are running the application, you are mentioning this is my base address and this is what. For example, this is my server address. So for this address, one of the common confusion is where to end. This slash is required or not? Yes, it is required. First thing, slash is required in the end, and then don't add any API or anything. If you are having completely API is having that API as a prefix, they can, then you can add. First thing. Second thing is how to use. I'll come to the Blazor web app, WebAssembly, all those things. Simple. Wherever you're having add HTTP client, you will add like this. At the place of using, forget about Blazor. If you somebody is not aware of Blazor, no need to worry. So what you will do, you will just do like this: add inject of a client of test API, HTTP client of test API, like that you will mention. This is what we get in the MSDN and many documents, but actually this is wrong. The reason is, the ideal way is to use this one. Okay, if you run through any AI tools or anything, they all recommend this way, first way. Okay, what happens, they're saying you have like this HTTP client of this particular name, test API. That is the name I'm giving. You can give it like a government API or whatever it is, your particular service API, whatever you can give. And the same thing you're trying to give, and then if you run this, okay, this is the first way they are recommending. Okay, this is the first way they are recommending. I'll just show you quickly. Okay, it's already here. You can see by default, whenever you run up to this place, I'll put the breakpoint. You just think of like this is a simple application, whatever Blazor or ASP.NET Core or anything. No need to worry. Since this is a common issues many are facing, even I faced the same problem in the beginning days, and my teammates are facing. That is the reason I'm just making this video. So it's running in my multiple screen, dual screen. So I have this control loading on my, what is this, on particular this weather.razor page. Don't worry, this is just a placeholder. Don't restrict for the Blazor only. It is for everywhere. Okay, I'm just clicked on the Blazor. So now test API, HTTP client of test API I gave. So you can see here, this particular test API is having base address null. Okay, even though we declared it here, base address is something 7170 as we declare, but it is not. Yes, it is working properly. The reason is HTTP client, this one means it is actually not related with this particular one name. Okay, to get this particular name, you need to go with the HTTP client factory only. This is the right way. That right way I did it here. If you, for example, see now, I'm just right now it is having base address null. If I run now, okay, I'll just skip this line. I'll just directly run this. Uh, See now still, yes, base address is null. I'm just executing. You can see it is giving the error as something like blah 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 circuits invalid URI was provided. Either the request URI must be an absolute or base address or must be. Sometimes what happens, this issue is even though if you have URL, all those problems. So now the issue is simple. Uh, One sec. Okay, it is not loading. So now what I will do is I'll just restart the application. It is running in my other screen. Okay, app is loaded. Quickly, let me run. This is actually Blazor web app auto mode application. I'll show more examples for the sake of Blazor separately in the next. I clicked here. Now for running this, what you need to do is I'm just setting base address equals this one. The reason is HTTP client, I have a HTTP client, the test API give or any name, it doesn't matter. It is just a variable name. For that one, you are mentioning base address is this, and then you are doing this, blah, blah, blah. And then you executed this. Okay. You got the response. Okay, this is the way how you are supposed to use HTTP client. But to make use of proper way of this particular one, because since you declared it in the global level of your program.cs startup of the place, then to use this particular one, the right way is to go with this way. I HTTP client factory and use that factory and create the client of the name same as this particular name, whatever the name you had given, that name. So better try to give it as a constant, declare some constants like some API, some constant file, and then refer that API constant also here and then here. If you refer that, then half of the issues, not half, complete issues will be resolved. So I just loaded, I'll just show you for the sake of understanding. I'm just making it, you can see localhost 7170, whatever we pass there, that it comes here. I'm not loading anything else. Factory is, I just declared the factory here in the top, and then I just created the client of that particular name, whatever the name we had given at this place, the same name. So for the sake of easiness and uniformity, declare it is in constant and use it. Now I'm just showing the simple way. Okay, and this same way. It works same way like that itself. That is the reason I just shown you this one. My endpoint is simple. What I did is I just created one simple endpoint, test one controller API slash blah blah blah. Just I just created some dummy things, nothing else, for the sake of understanding. Okay, that's it about this particular how to use the HTTP client. HTTP client, you declare it here, then you should use the iHTTP client factory to make use of whatever you declared here. If you have, you don't declare it in the, if you have something you're not supposed to declare it in the program.cs for whatever the reason xyz, like for example you may be passing directly URL like some google.com or something, anything your application you're doing, then what you can do is this way, create an object of HTTP client and then call the with respect to that URL. Okay, that is about this. Now coming back to the second step, Blazor web app. In the Blazor web app, what happens? You will have a Blazor server and client. This is many people, even my teammates, getting the problem. That is why I'm just trying to stress this point. Uh, See, we have server and client project. Wherever the client is there, at that place, you need to have this base address configured. First thing. Okay, so for example, this is my, what do you call, server project, and okay, let me just sorry, let's close out this. Okay, this is my server, this is my client. Okay, this is my client, I mentioned here, and here server also I mentioned. The reason why it is required is, see, since this is the auto mode I'm running, so when I'm running the auto mode, obviously the host is server itself. Client will be downloaded to server machine. Client will be downloaded to server machine only after once. I mean, client fetches starts getting from server. Once after getting it, then it sends the I mean second time onwards, uh, client project will be loaded to browser. Project will load it to browser. So from the second time onwards, this client will program.cs will be executed. Okay, so this program.cs is for the second time. For the first time you need, so for that case you need to have add HTTP client of test API, this URL. Okay, you might think like why I didn't mention this way, builder.host environment.base address. For this particular project, this is a server. This itself is the host. You don't have anything host. Okay, for this client project, the host is your API server project. So it is trying to get the relative address. If you have something different address, then you can mention that. You can google.com, facebook.com, whatever API, that stuff. Okay, so there's the difference. For example, if you have in the runtime itself, if you don't have something, I mean, first time you are getting some different place or something, then you can go with this mode also. This mode also. But this will not work out. Totally, this gets executed for the first time server, second time onwards, this will be used. Okay, and the usage is same. You are having, for the sake of uniformity, I just made the same name: test API, test API. In the page, the same thing. Okay, that is how the difference of HTTP client factory will be used for the sake of add HTTP client. Okay, cool. If you have any doubts, please raise. Thank you. Thank you very much.